Hello friends, welcome to the lecture of heat transfer. In the last lecture we have seen what is exactly heat transfer, how does the heat transfer takes place in between two bodies which are maintained at two different temperatures, what is conduction, what is convection, what is radiation, which are the three modes of heat transfer. In conduction we have seen one of the basic rule which is responsible, also which governs all the equations of heat conduction, that is the Fourier's law. And the outcome of the Fourier's law is that the term Q, rather Q dot, is equals to minus of K into A into the term dt by dx. So out of that, the term Q dot is the heat transfer rate. The term Q dot is the heat transfer rate. It means it is expressed in terms of joule per second. K is the thermal conductivity. The term K is the thermal conductivity. The term K is the thermal conductivity. A is the area which is normal to the direction of flow of heat, and dt by dx is the temperature gradient in the direction of heat flow. The negative sign, we have already discussed about the negative sign. Negative sign is taken over here. It is due to the reason the direction of flow of heat is opposite to that of the direction of the temperature gradient. It means the heat is flowing in the direction of reducing temperature. So that's why we have taken negative sign over here. Now out of that we discussed about the thermal conductivity. What is the thermal conductivity of a material? Thermal conductivity, or it is also known as the coefficient of thermal conductivity. It is the property of the material, and it roughly I will define it as it is the ability of a material to transfer heat through it. For example, if I take down this object, select the chalk. If I heat up one end of the chalk, then the chalk will allow the heat to flow from this end to that end, right? And to what level the heat is get transferred, or say to what level this chalk is allowing the heat to get transferred through it, that is the measure of that thing is nothing but what? The thermal conductivity. Now instead of this chalk, if I take down a metallic rod, say like iron rod, obviously iron rod will conduct the heat very easily from this end to that end. Then we can say that the thermal conductivity, or the coefficient of thermal conductivity of iron is more than that of this chalk. So that term thermal conductivity we are going to talk in this lecture. Now from this equation, say this is equation number 1, I can write down the equation for the thermal conductivity K. Thermal conductivity K, small k, is equals to, if I neglect the negative sign, then I can get it to be, it is Q dot, the rate of heat transfer. Q dot is nothing but it is the rate of heat transfer divided by the area normal to the direction of heat flow by dt by dx. Remember that dt by dx is nothing but the temperature gradient in the direction of heat flow. Now from this I think we are able to predict about the SI unit of this. Q dot, which is the rate of heat transfer, is expressed as joule per second divided by area is in terms of meter square. This dt by dx, dt is the temperature difference, so I will say it as the Kelvin, degree Kelvin, by dx is the distance, so it is meter. So I think out of this meter will be get cancelled, and I can have the SI unit of thermal conductivity as, I think joule per second will be watt. This is watt per, this is meter and this is Kelvin, so watt per meter per Kelvin, or it can be also written as it is watt per meter per degree Celsius, right? So a dash has to be provided over here so as to differentiate between this M and this capital K. Otherwise, if you do not provide the dash or say space, at least you have to provide the dash over here, or at least the space, empty space. If we put on this directly M and K joining together, then it may mislead to also misreading as millikelvin. It shouldn't happen, and that is the reason dash has to be provided between meter and Kelvin. So what SI unit for the thermal conductivity we get? It's over here, watt per meter per Kelvin, watt per meter per degree Celsius. Now let's talk about the dimensions of this thermal conductivity. And to get the dimensions, again I would like to go for the same formula of K, that is nothing but it is Q dot by, this is the area normal to the direction of heat flow divided by dt by dx. I think in the last lecture we have seen what is this term temperature gradient, and temperature, we have also seen the SI unit for the temperature gradient and the dimensions also. So if we talk about the dimensions, then its dimension can be written as, see, Q dot is the rate of heat transfer. It means it is the rate of energy transfer. So it is energy per unit time. So it will have the dimensions of energy divided by the time. So it is dimensions of energy is M1, L2, T minus 2 is the dimensions of energy, right? But if it is get divided by the time, it will be T minus 3 over here, and whole divided by the dimensions of area will be L2. So it is L2 over here, and the dimensions of temperature gradient will be, I will say temperature is in terms of Kelvin, so I will say it is K1, and dx is L minus 1 since dx is in the denominator. So what final dimensions we are getting for K? K will have the dimensions. Check out this one. M term is only one term over here, so it is M1. Then L to the power, so this is L minus 1, L2, so it will be L1 goes to the numerator, so it will be minus 1. So it will be 2 minus 1 will be minus 1. T to the power minus 3. And I think K to the power minus 1. So K stands for the term Kelvin. So this is what the dimensions of the thermal conductivity of a matter. In some book or say some of the author uses, instead of K, they uses theta to represent temperature. So in that case, the dimensions of thermal conductivity K will become, it will be M1, L minus 1, T minus 3, and theta to the power minus 1. So in this way also you can represent the dimensions of thermal conductivity of a material. Now let us check out how, what is the magnitude of the thermal conductivity, or say how the magnitude of a thermal conductivity for a material is calculated, or say it is found. So let's talk about that. I will go for the same equation of Q dot. Q dot, that is what the Fourier's equation of heat transfer. It is minus Ka into dt by dx. So if I take down the equation for K, skipping down this negative sign from this equation, I will get this equation as Q dot divided by A divided by dt by dx. Now if I take down a specific condition, for example, for whatever material you want to find out the thermal conductivity of that material, for example, take down iron block. I am going to take down one iron block of such dimensions. Say these are the dimensions of iron block. One iron block of side 1 meter. This is the iron block of side 1 meter. So this length is 1 meter, the height is 1 meter, the width is also 1 meter. This is made up of that material whose thermal conductivity is to be calculated. This surface is to be maintained at temperature T1, and this surface is maintained at the temperature T2. In that case, and if T1 minus T2 is 1 degree Celsius, then the heat will transfer from this surface to that surface. From the surface, left surface to the right surface, and lateral surface is being insulated over here. Lateral surface is being insulated. So in this case, this is what, let me correct it a little bit. So this surface is maintained at the temperature T2, and this is the direction of heat flow Q dot. Now if this is the direction of heat flow Q dot, and if I check out the area which is normal to the direction of flow of heat is this area. I think this is the area. If this is the area normal to the direction of flow of heat, and in this case area A is equals to, it will become 1 meter square. Next, if I take down the temperature gradient, the temperature difference, first of all, if I take down the temperature difference as T1 minus T2 is equal to, let us say it is equal to 1 degree Celsius or 1 degree Kelvin. and this length we have to take down this as the term dx. So here dx is also equals to 1 meter. So what parameter I am getting? I am getting the area normal to the direction of flow of heat is 1 meter square. The temperature difference across two surfaces, opposite surfaces of a cube is 1 degree Celsius, and the width of the length of the cube is 1 meter. And if I put down all these values into this equation, say equation number 1 over here, what I will get is equation number 1 is that equation number 1, K is equals to, it is Q dot divided by A divided by dt by dx. So out of that, this K is equals to, it is Q dot divided by A is 1 meter square, so its magnitude is 1, into dt is 1 degree Celsius and dx is also 1 meter, so it is again multiplied by 1. So I can conclude that K is equals to Q dot. Now this is one important result. K is equals to Q dot. It means that the thermal conductivity of a material is numerically equals to the rate of heat transfer that is taking place across two opposite surfaces of a cube of side 1 meter when these two surfaces are maintained at the temperature difference of 1 degree Celsius. I repeat the definition. I repeat the definition of thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity of a material. Thermal conductivity of a material is defined as, or it is numerically equal to the rate of heat transfer. It is numerically equal to the rate of heat transfer, but under what condition? When thermal conductivity of a material is numerically equal to the rate of heat transfer taking place across two opposite surfaces of cube of side 1 meter when their opposite faces are maintained at the temperature difference of 1 degree Celsius. Then we can say whatever the rate of heat transfer taking place across these two surfaces, that is equals to the thermal conductivity of that material, whatever the material of that cube is. So this is what the one more concept of thermal conductivity. Now if you check out the thermal conductivities of various materials, then I will say the thermal conductivity of, say, like silver, K for silver, it is the highest. Then copper, I mean these are in the range of, say, like few hundred, maybe 400 watt per meter per Kelvin. For example, silver has the thermal conductivity 412 watt per meter per Kelvin. Next, the copper has the thermal conductivity 386, the unit is being the same. And like that, if you go for the iron, it is in the range of, say, like 50 to 80 watt per meter per Kelvin. Air, it goes in the range of 0.1. So overall the the thermal conductivity of a matter changes from it varies from 0.01 to maybe up to 400 or so 450. I mean for practical material I am talking about. If we go for the concept of a heat pipe kind of instrument, then the thermal conductivity, overall value of the thermal conductivity for heat pipe will be very large. But practically for these materials, these are the thermal conductivities, right? So let us move ahead for the next topic, the variation of thermal conductivity. That the thermal conductivity, or say the conduction of the heat itself, takes place due to two main reasons. One is due to the transfer of electron, and second is due to the lattice vibration of the molecules. Both the things we will discuss in detail. And how does the variation in temperature affects the thermal conductivity, that also we are going to see. Now the heat conduction is due to heat conduction takes place mainly due to free electrons free electrons, and number 2, this is due to the lattice vibration of the molecule, or say the collision of the molecules. So I will say this is due to the collision of the molecules. Collision of molecules. Now this we have already seen in the earlier lecture of, in the first lecture of heat transfer. What is this free electron? The heat conduction takes place due to the free electron means what? If I take down a metallic rod like this, and if I heat up this metallic rod at one end, the atoms, or say the molecules of that material, absorb the heat. Now atom, or say that metallic rod, is absorbing the heat means what exactly? Who is consuming that energy? Who is absorbing that energy and storing it nearby it? So it is not the molecule, it is not even the atom, it is basically the electron which are revolving into the orbit, probably the outermost orbit. Now this I am talking about only about the conductors, not about the insulators. So in case of conductors, what happens that, say this is the nucleus of the atom and this is the revolving electron into the outermost orbit, then that electron absorbs the energy, will get excited, the energy level will goes up, and that electron will jump up from this orbit to another orbit of another atom, then from this orbit to another atom of another orbit of another atom, and in that way that electron, the high energy electron, will keep on jumping from one orbit to another orbit, another orbit to another orbit, and it carry forward the heat along with it. So this is happening in case of conductors, right? Whereas in case of insulators, the molecules of the matter, for example, these are the molecules. When we heat up this end, these molecules will start to vibrate about their mean position. We know that every matter which is at some non-zero temperature has somewhat internal energy, and that internal energy is in the form of the potential energy and the kinetic energy of the vibrating molecules. So molecules at any temperature apart from 0 kelvin, for example, even this chalk. So chalk, the molecules of chalk right now, they are vibrating about their mean position with certain amplitude, certain like frequency and all. That too again in maybe along x-axis, along y-axis, along z-axis, they might be spinning about their own axis. So they are having about 6 degree of freedom. Totally possible, maximum possible degree of freedom is 6, but depending upon the number of atoms into the molecule, the degree of freedom of the molecule varies, and that is it is the Maxwell's distribution which decides in what way the absorbed energy will get stored into the atom, also the molecule. Oh, that's not the part of our syllabus. We will simply focus up our attention onto the energy absorbed by the molecule, and due to the absorption of the molecule, due to absorption of the energy by the molecules will vibrate at much higher amplitude and frequency. So these vibrating molecules will collide with the adjacent molecule. The adjacent molecule will also start to vibrate. Again, that molecule will collide with again adjacent molecule, and in that way the heat is get transferred to next molecule and till this end. Now these are two different mechanisms in which the heat transfer takes place in case of conductors, in case of insulator. This is the case of conductor and this is the case of insulator. Now the thing is, both type of heat transfer present in both conductors and insulator. For example, in case of conductors, the heat transfer is taking place due to the free electron, but apart from motion of free electron, here also the heat transfer takes place due to the vibration, the molecular vibration, also the molecular collision also. But the thing is, the heat transfer which is taking place due to the transfer of free electron is much dominant than that of the heat transfer taking place due to the vibration of the molecules. So that's why we consider in case of conductors, heat transfer takes place due to the free electron. Whereas in case of insulator, now however fine insulator it is, there might be some impurities into it, and due to the impurities there might be some free electron into it, but the amount, or say the quantity of free electron, or say the number density of free electron is very negligibly small. So in this case, in case of insulator, the transfer of heat due to the free electrons is negligibly small, and the transfer of heat due to the molecular vibration, or say the collision of the molecules, is very much dominant than that of the transfer of heat due to the electrons. So now why I am telling you all this? This is due to the reason to understand the variation of K, variation of thermal conductivity. variation of thermal conductivity with respect to temperature. With respect to temperature. Variation of thermal conductivity of a matter with respect to temperature. Now, to understand the variation of thermal conductivity of some material, mainly we will categorize into the conductors and the insulators, and how do they behave like that. To understand that, with that variation, this understanding of the heat transfer mechanism in the insulator and the conductor is very important. So, let's move on. Now, if I talk about variation of thermal conductivity of, let's talk about the first one as the conductors. Variation of thermal conductivity of conductors with respect to the temperature. Now, if I check out the variation of thermal conductivity with respect to temperature, let's say this is the temperature scale and this is the thermal conductivity scale. And into this scale, if I check out certain materials like any conductor like say like copper, the thermal conductivity goes down. So like silver, it also goes down. So like some other, say like iron, that is also going down. So this is the silver, this is copper, iron, right? So most of the metals shows the inverse variation of, variation of thermal conductivity with respect to temperature, it is decreasing. If we increase the temperature, if we keep on increasing the temperature, the thermal conductivity of most of the conductors is decreasing. Only one exception is there, say the mercury, this is for Hg. In case of mercury, the mercury is a metal and it is a conductor of heat, so we are going to categorize it into the conductors, but behavior of thermal conductivity of mercury is little different and strange than that of other metals. And in case of mercury, the thermal conductivity is increasing with respect to temperature. This is the exceptional case, but in rest of the cases, the thermal conductivity is decreasing. Now the question is why it is decreasing. The question why it is decreasing, I will explain it. Say this is a metallic rod, any metallic rod, silver rod, copper rod, or say anything. In that rod, we know that the transfer of heat from this end, so like Q or say capital Q is flowing in this direction. In that case, why does the heat transfer takes place, or say in what way does the heat transfer takes place in case of conductors? It is due to the transfer of free electrons which are revolving into the outermost orbit of any of the atom. So that electron will keep on jumping, and while jumping, that electron will carry the energy possessed by it and transfer it to the other electrons of the other which are present into the other atoms, right? So what happens is, the moment when you start to heat that object, the temperature of that object, when it will start to increase, temperature will start to increase, what will happen? The molecules which are over here, they will start to vibrate, they will start to already they were vibrating, oscillating, but due to the increase in temperature, the vibration also increases. Increase in the sense, increase in the amplitude as well as in the frequency. So what happens due to that? Due to that, the moving electrons, will get somewhat resistance for the flow. The moving electron, earlier they were moving little in easier path. Now vibration of the molecules is got increased, so they get offered somewhat resistance for the flow. And as the motion of the electron is get resisted or say restricted up to some extent, then it will be difficult for this electron to move that side, and that's the reason it will be difficult for the heat to flow from this end to that end, and that is the reason why does the thermal conductivity of conductors decreases with respect to the temperature. This is all about the variation of thermal conductivity of some conductors with respect to temperatures, right? Next one. Now let us see the variation of thermal conductivity of insulators. variation of thermal conductivity of insulator. This is K, that is thermal conductivity, and this is the temperature T. Now, you know the typical insulators like asbestos material, air, air is gases का हम separately देखेंगे, but mostly the insulators typically say wood, rubber, glass. So the asbestos material. So these are the insulators. Mica is the insulator. Mica is used as a dielectric in case of capacitor. So the variation of thermal conductivity of most of the insulator, it shows the variation something like this, maybe something like this. They are varying in this way. So from these graphs, it is clear that the thermal conductivity of insulator is increasing with respect to the temperature. You can see as at this temperature, the thermal conductivity is this much. If I go for a higher temperature, you can see the thermal conductivity is getting increased. Whereas that increase is not much like considerable increase, but it increases, right? Now, why does the thermal conductivity of any material increases with respect to temperature? The answer is hidden somewhere into the previous concept that I just told you. In case of insulators, the heat transfer takes place due to the collision of the molecules. Now, as this molecule is colliding or say it is oscillating, so with this one, with this one, with this one. So, as first molecule is vibrating, at higher temperature it will vibrate with much higher speed and amplitude. So, it will collide with the adjacent molecule. That will also start to collide. It will collide with the adjacent molecule. That will also start to like oscillate and will collide to the next molecule, and in that way the heat is get transferred till that last molecule of that rod. And when temperature of the entire rod is get increased, in that case the molecular vibration will also increase. And we know in case of insulator, the transfer of heat is taking place due to the lattice vibration, and that lattice vibration is increasing, and that is the reason the heat transfer rate will increase, which will result into the increase of the thermal conductivity of that material, that is the insulator. Now, the way in which the insulator behaves with respect to temperature, I'm talking about from heat transfer perspective. Most of the alloys also behave in the similar manner. The thermal conductivity of most of the alloys also increases with respect to the temperature. So this is all about the variation of thermal conductivity with respect to the temperature. Now the next one is the gases, the thermal conductivity of gases. In case of gases, why does and how does the heat conduction, actually there is no conduction, it will be better to say it has heat transfer only, since in case of gases the heat transfer takes place due to conduction as well as by convection. So for gases, if I plot down the variation of K thermal conductivity with respect to temperature T, then it is found that most of the gases behaves like this. They are behaving like this. For example, for the hydrogen, this is hydrogen H2, this is the helium He. So for most of the gases, even for the air, kind of say this is for air. So the thermal conductivity of the gases is also increasing with respect to the temperature. Why it is so? In case of gases, if I take down a container, long enough container, and if I heat up the gases, I have not kept the container in inclined or in the vertical position, so that the molecules can go up or down due to the variation in the density. If I take down this container and if I heat up the gas into this region, then how does the gas into this region is get heated? The moment when the gas molecules are get heated, they will absorb the energy from the source. When they absorb the energy, their kinetic energy increases. Kinetic energy increases means what? The velocity increases. And the molecules with high velocity will start to diffuse into this region like this in zigzag path, and they will reach up to that end, will carry the energy in the form of kinetic energy, and while they are carrying the heat energy along with them in the form of kinetic energy, they will collide with the whatever the molecules they are coming into their path, and during the collision there is a transfer of momentum, and due to the transfer of momentum there will be the transfer of kinetic energy also, and the transfer of kinetic energy of the gas molecule is nothing but what? The transfer of the heat. Now, as the temperature is getting increased, the kinetic energy of these molecules is getting increased, and hence the thermal conductivity of the matter is. The thermal conductivity of that gas will also increase with the temperature. So, this is the reason. Now, let us go for the next topic, heat conduction through a wall or say a slab. Let us talk about conduction of heat through a wall or a slab, and we will see how to apply the Fourier's law to that particular case. Now consider that, check down the title of this topic is heat conduction through a wall or say heat conduction through a slab. Through a slab. Now, I am going to take down one slab of certain width. Say this is the width, or say the width B over here. Say this is the infinite slab, and this surface of the slab is maintained at the temperature T1. Here is the temperature T1. And this surface of the slab is maintained at the temperature T2 degrees Celsius, and here onwards the temperature is being constant, and the variation of the temperature in x direction or in the direction of B is something like this. It is a linear variation. So, I mean temperature is dropping down linearly in the direction of x. And what is that x direction? Say this is the x direction. I am going to take down this much length as x1, this is x1, and this much length as x2, this much length as x2, right. So obviously x2 minus x1 will be the width of this slab, and if the temperature at this end is higher than that of the temperature at this end, or so this surface, and there is no temperature gradient in y direction, no temperature gradient in z direction. So if I take down the coordinate system, this is the x direction, this is the y direction, and I mean this is the x direction, this is the y direction, and perpendicular to it will be the z direction. And in this case, the temperature gradient is present only in x direction, no temperature gradient in y direction, no temperature gradient in z direction. So the heat transfer will take place only in x direction, and that is q dot, right. Now let us apply the Fourier's law. What is Fourier's law? Fourier's law says that Fourier's law says that the rate of heat transfer that is taking place due to conduction is equals to minus of K A into dt by dx. Now let me tell you all these terms. What are these terms? Q is the rate of heat transfer, that is the amount of heat transferred per unit time. K is the thermal conductivity of this matter, and let us say in this case the thermal conductivity of this wall is K. Now this wall may be of any material, maybe glass, concrete, like wood, anything metallic, steel also. So K is the thermal conductivity of this slab through which the heat is going to transfer. A is the area which is normal to the direction of flow of heat. So area which is normal to the direction of flow of heat. So I will say if I take down this wall, this wall is infinite over this side and this side, so there is no meaning, area will be also infinite. So better way, we will take down this area over this side, so we can have this as q dot by A, which is equals to small q dot, which is the heat flux, and can be written as equals to minus of K dt by dx. Now I have already defined the term q dot, term Ka. dt by dx is the rate of change of temperature with respect to x direction. And in the x direction, how the temperature is changing? If I take down one particular length, this much length, then for this much length, how much is the change in temperature? It is from T1 to T2. So that is the term dt by dx, right? And q dot is the rate of heat flux. So now I can take down this q dot as, look at this, how can I take down the q dot, term q dot? This term q dot can be taken as equals to the term minus 1 as it is. How much is the temperature difference? It is applicable I mean from x is equal to x1 to x is equal to x2. So in that case, or better way, let us take down the limiting condition, the boundary conditions. What are the boundary conditions? I would like to write it over here. The boundary conditions. The boundary conditions are, what are the boundary conditions? At x equal to x1, at x is equal to x1, temperature T is equal to T1. Temperature T is equals to T1, and at x is equal to x2, temperature T is equal to T2. Just put on these two conditions into this equation. What you will get is, you will get this q dot as equals to minus of k into dt will be equals to, it will be T2 minus T1 divided by dx will be x2 minus x1, and can be written as, it can be written as equals to, it is minus of k. I think, look at this, this is T2, see this T1 is more than T2, this T1 is more than T2, so this the difference of these two terms will be negative term. So if I multiply this negative to the bracket, what I will get, if I take down that negative term into the bracket, it will be T1 minus T2 whole divided by, now if you check out x2 minus x1 over here, I can write down this as x2 minus x1 as equals to the width of the slab B, and it will be over here, and that is nothing but what? It is q dot, that is what? The rate of heat flux taking place across that slab of width B and thermal conductivity K, and when maintained at the temperature difference of T1 minus T2. So this is what the applications of Fourier's law to for the heat conduction through a slab. Well, I think for today we should stop over here. In the next lecture we will talk about the heat transfer due to convection and heat transfer due to radiation. So see you in the next lecture. Bye.